Hello there everyone, so in today's video I'm going to be unboxing two Scrawlrboxes. So one of them is the most recent subscription one and the other one I bought in a recent sale and only paid £5. I know what's in that, so let's get on with it. I think I want to start with the newest one because I'm quite curious what's in it. Whoa, that's actually quite heavy. Let me get straight in there. Get everything out first. Oh, that looks interesting. Just looking at that scene, it doesn't really tell you what it is, in my opinion. Just look at the paper here. So we get a pad like usual. White card, 10 sheets, 250 GSM, and it's smooth. I do love these pads of paper that we get from Scrawlrbox now. I've built up a right collection of them, and I think it's a brilliant way to try different papers. And also without the paper itself being too big and a bit intimidating, especially if you're trying something new. Let's break straight in. I'm getting a little bit of feeling of some markery thing. What is this? It's a chew bar, but I have never seen this before. Toffee. Okay, so we have some pencil looking things. We have, first of all, a Copic multi-liner. I do like them. I have a few of them myself. We have a colour pencil, Rembrandt Polycolour Lyra, and it's dark violet. I thought it looked purple. That's nice. Then we get a pencil, like usual. And then we get what looks to be some markers. So these are graphics sketch markers. I have not tried these before, and it looks like it's all grey tones as well. Right, let's get these out, shall we? So these are alcohol markers. They actually feel really nice, a bit unusual. So they're pretty much square and then the ends are rounded off to be a circle. So what do we have? We have, I'm guessing it looks like a bullet nib on one end and then the classic chisel nib. So they are all basically grey tones and it looks like they're just named with numbers. I don't really see any other names on them. This is obviously not a whole lot of colour. It's basically all greys with the accent of the purple there. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. Now I think you just need to try them out and see how they work on the paper. Just swatch them a little bit and also that coloured pencil. So we're starting from light and going to dark, I think. This is definitely a very warm grey. Quite a hard bullet nib and there's quite a big chisel nib there. Oh, that's actually quite a bit darker than the cap. Oh wow, that's dark. Again, that's much darker than the cap would make you think. Right, so this looks to be the darkest one. That's what the cap looks like. And yeah, that's pretty dark. That's actually pretty close. That's pretty accurate, that. So we can definitely see, I would say we basically have 3 warm greys and we have 3 cool greys. Now the pencil, the colored pencil. For some reason, I'm holding it in my hand and it feels really fragile. I'm not saying it is, but it feels like it. It might be because I'm used to working with the polychromos, which I think are a bit chunky in the barrel, so that's probably why. It's a nice color. Of course it's purple. We have the regular pencil, which was a 3B, and of course we have the Copic multi-liner, which is a 0.3. That's a pretty nice size. So I guess those are our swatches. Right, so I'm going to put these things to the side. So I'm going to get straight on to the next box here, and this one I do know what's in because like I said, I bought it in the sale and could see what was in it. And that's why I bought it. So actually this box is the box that came out literally the month before I got my very first subscription box. And this is January 2021. So let's get into it. So that's the print. We have the scene. And then we have, oh, is this? It's a little sketchbook. I was thinking it was a scene, even though I literally just looked at that. Right. So what's in here? And these are the Tombow markers in blue and also a grey colour. We have a fine liner, I'm guessing. 2 sweets. What are these? Chocolate mint. Not familiar with it, but chocolate mint thing, I'm guessing. Refresher. Wow, that's soft. Right, so this is also the one where they had a collaboration with Blackwing and basically did a Scrawlrbox exclusive design. And these are then the markers themselves. And they happen to also be alcohol-based markers, so that's probably a pretty perfect fit actually. So there's obviously a grey in there, but then there's 2 blue colours, so I could always mix them together. And as you can see, these are quite different. So the other alcohol markers are quite chunky, and that's what most alcohol markers tend to be. But these ones are more like a normal pen. They're quite slim and long to hold. And this one then has a brush end on one. And then on the other end, we have also a chisel nib. This one is then a bit smaller. So I'm not going to swatch the Blackwing pencil here. I need to sharpen it first, which I'm not going to bother doing. We have the fine liner. Let's kind of compare it to the Copic one. So it's actually a little bit finer than that, but similar kind of size. And then we have the markers themselves. Let's try the brush end first, because that's one thing I always prefer on markers, that it's the brush end on one of them, which the other ones obviously didn't have. But I'm very curious about trying these because I have heard a lot of good things about these specific markers. Also just gotta try the other one. They actually feel really nice to use. Just see how much softer that is, and it's much better to blend with when you get the brush nibs. Oh wow, that's a lot more intense than I thought it would be. I thought it would be a bit more more muted or pastel-like. And then the last one is a darker blue. Yep, and the chisel. And then I also want to try and just see about blending them. See if we can try and make a gradient. Obviously the grey is probably not the most obvious colour to blend with the other ones here. So grey to the lighter blue. Okay, blend. Let's try the lighter blue to the darker blue. They are kind of different tones, but let's still try and blend them together. And there we go. I would say that's all right. Now, just thinking about it actually, because I just did some blending and also the other swatches there. This is the pad from the newest box. Let's just have a look on the back. Oh, it actually, where blended, it did bleed through to the next page, and obviously it bleeds through on the back. That's not surprising, but it did bleed through to the next page. So that's something to be aware of. Just if you want to do some blending in that. That's obviously if you're going to do it where you have a back page. Personally, I like to rip paper out of this before I start using it, but it's just still something to be aware of. So these are basically the swatches for all the materials. And then I think it's time to play around with them and see if I can come up with something. And I'm not going to limit myself to say I have to make a piece with the materials from one box and then a piece with the other box. I'm just going to allow myself to mix and match however I feel like it, and also bring in my own materials if I want to. I don't really want to feel too limited with it. So let's get on with it and see what I can create. So now on to making some art. I had this idea of making a bunch of different cartoon style cats and basically squishing them onto a piece of paper, almost stacking on top of each other, and I wanted them all to have different expressions and doing different things. So this is what I started out with a sketch of, and then I started inking it in with the Copic multi-liner. And I chose that one over the other fine liner because I have experience with that and I know that's going to work well with alcohol markers. The other one might as well, but I wasn't sure about it, so I just stuck with the Copic one because I wanted to make sure I didn't get any smudges and that when I started using the actual markers themselves. So I started out coming up with a basic design of the cats to have a cohesive overall look, but then each one I varied, obviously depending on gender, the expression they had, what they were doing and what was going on around them. And I also took advantage of the full paper itself. As you can see, some of them are kind of peeking in from the edge on the sides or over the bottom edge of the paper. And they're also interacting with each other as well, all the ones that are kind of around them. And if you notice, on some of them there's this yarn that's entangled all around them as if they're kind of getting caught up in it, and that carries through from the bottom on some of the cats all the way up to the top, and that's supposed to be as if it's one length of yarn. So kind of thought that was a pretty cool idea. And some of them we only see a tail or we see their butt, and you can see right under my hand there's one where it's supposed to look like it's basically gotten wet and it's in the stages of starting to dry, so all the hair is just kind of like poking out as if it's almost been electrocuted. So I thought that was kind of fun as well. And then around that you have some other ones that are kind of looking at it and laughing at it, thinking it's funny that it's gotten wet. So I just really made sure that they all were interacting in some way as well. And then an idea I had right from the beginning as well was having a male and a female cat kind of close to each other, and then the tails were wrapping towards each other and made the shape of a hat. So I thought that was really cute, and I also ended up having that right in the center, which I'm really pleased with. I didn't want that too far towards an edge or a corner. And there's also a few cats with bows on them, on the head, on the tails, and there's one where butterfly is just landing on its nose and it's looking at it, which is making it really cute and cross-eyed. And this is in the piece all linked in, and it took a while for me to come up with all these different cats and what they were doing, but I'm pretty pleased with how it ended up, and I actually think it makes for a pretty good colouring page. And speaking of colouring, I went on and grabbed the alcohol markers there and started colouring all the cats. Now I did think it was pretty perfect actually, the colours that I ended up having for all these cats here, because I had all the grey tones, both warm and cool, and then obviously I had a couple of colours, both in the alcohol markers, the blue ones, and also that colour pencils in the purple, just to be able to accent with, and that made for really good different colours of the cats. So they're not really bright, but they're kind of these natural warm and cool grey and browny colours. And I'm pretty pleased with how they ended up. So I tried to not have two cats that basically looked the same, so I had the same colouring or the same pattern to them, to try and keep them individual. So as you can see, some of them I just kind of gave a plain colour, so they were just one colour cats, however you want to put it. And some of them I gave some different markings, spots or stripes or something like that, just to kind of keep it individual and different, like I said. And also here I'm starting to colour in that yarn that's starting from this specific cat that has the actual ball of yarn, and then that trickles through to some of the other ones further down the line. But I think that worked out quite well, just having these blue tones and then obviously the purple one in the colour pencil, just to break up all the grey and browny tones in all the cats. Because even though all the markers from the set are classed as grey, you can definitely see the difference between the warm and the cool ones. The warm ones look a lot more browny than the other ones, so I would almost go as far to say they kind of are more brown colours, but just with a grey tone to them. Now, speaking of the markers, I do just want to mention a bit about them. The Tombow ones were quite nice. I would definitely be happy to get more of those in different colours to try for the future. I'm not going to replace them with my Copics because obviously I have quite a few of them, but I do like them, and I also like how kind of thin and different they are compared to most other alcohol markers. Regarding the graphics sketch marker set, that was all the grey tones there, I was a little bit disappointed with that because first of all it's a bullet nib and a chisel nib, which my favourite is the brush nib because that affects to me the quality of your final piece. As you can probably see here, some of it is a little bit more streaky, and that's because it's a bullet nib, because it's just a bit harder to blend, but that's personal preference. It's still okay. Now, my main issue is actually with the barrels themselves because there's no marking which is the chisel and which is the bullet nib other than the actual printed on markings, and those are actually starting to rub off after just this one drawing. So once they rub off fully, you're not going to be able to tell without actually opening the marker themselves, which is going to be quite annoying and a waste of time. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Otherwise, I really enjoyed making this piece. I think it turned out pretty cute at the end, and I hope you enjoyed opening and watching along with me. Thank you so much for watching it here, and I'll see you in the next one.